And I really appreciate you correcting the gaming thing about this is my coming out party, because we're asking you to do something, and we've had acrimonious, you and I have actually had acrimonious interviews, but we're not here for a got you moment. We're just not on this. And we're asking you to give us information before the investigation is complete. My only recommendation or suggestion would be when that happens, don't necessarily wait till you ask, because don't wait for us to ask. Because and I'll go through why in a second. I appreciate you coming in. I appreciate you telling us things. I appreciate you guys going against essentially your normal policy of waiting till an investigation is done, because the American people need to know it. But here's why. There's a guy with a rangefinder walking around that everybody noticed and then couldn't find. You know, he's scaled to the top of a roof within 150 yards line of sight to the presidential, Republican former presidential candidate by climbing a drain pipe, and then you said some equipment. He was being pointed out by rally goers everywhere they could, and nobody could figure it out. There's maybe supposed to be local law enforcement in the building, either upstairs or downstairs. And all of this is going on. And I was talking to a colleague of mine yesterday on the floor, and it's like, I hate the conspiracy theories that come out, but this is not the FBI's purview. This is the Secret Service's purview. This is so comically like inept to the average North Dakota citizen. Is just, they look at this and they're like, how could this possibly happen? And so by you giving us information in a really meaningful way, even though we know the investigation's ongoing and things can change, that at least helps us to deal with that and figure out where we're at. And so, I mean, and you're doing all this. This guy had no combat training, no counter surveillance training that you're aware of, right?
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear that.
He had no combat training.
Oh, no, not. I don't think certainly know what we would call, what you and I would call combat training. Obviously, he was a fairly active recreational shooter, so he did plenty of shooting.
A lot of guys in Western North Dakota, right? I mean, all of those different things. And somehow we came within under of an inch of a presidential candidate being shot and killed within 100 days out from an election. And when you look at it, so I just want to be really clear, because there is a lot of this. There is no evidence of another shooter, right?
I mean, another shooter.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the counter sniper who took out the shooter.
Well,
right. But you're talking about like another.
Anybody else, and you're looking at his online and seeing all that, but there's no evidence he had any other accomplices on scene that day. Correct?
Correct. Not that we've seen yet, certainly.
And you said, and Oversight's had a hearing, DHS had a hearing, we're having a hearing now. The Inspector General's going to investigate. We're probably announcing a bipartisan outside panel. But there's another investigation too, right? Because somebody has to clear the shooter. Like, even though it is a Secret Service officer deploying when an FBI agent kills somebody in the line of duty, what's the process?
So we have what we call an agent-involved shooting, is I think what you're getting at. And we have a whole process.
Usually get put on leave, paid leave, get a lawyer, depending on how it is, right?
Some of those things depend, but we have, our inspection division does a shoot review of each time when there's one of these situations. And they sometimes have to coordinate with local prosecutors who are also doing some kind of review. But so yes, Secret Service would have a similar kind of process for the counter.
I mean, because you have to actually establish one of the defenses to homicide. Just like, you don't do it in a court system the same way everybody else does, but you have to justify that shooting was justified. So when the FBI does that, do they conduct that all internally?
Most of the time, yes. Every once in a while, there's a situation where the Inspector General gets involved.
Do you know how the Secret Service does it?
I don't. Okay.
And I just think that's important, because when we're talking about how this works, and I don't think anybody is arguing it wasn't, anybody who's seen it knows what happens, but it's just knowing it and making sure that the process is handled correctly. And I just want to shift gears with my last 30 seconds really quickly, because we had a hearing on the northern border in Grand Forks, and you were talking about specific threats from Iran, but also generally. And we've diverted an exceptional amount of resources at the southern border. Our interactions, 114% increase in apprehensions. And the one specific thing, with all due respect to my friends and my neighbors from Canada, it's a lot easier to get into Canada for some of these countries where we have these real issues with terrorist threats than it is to the United States, particularly Iran. And are you guys monitoring that and making sure whatever coordination you have with Canada that we're paying attention to that as well?
We have an excellent relationship, we the FBI, with our Canadian counterparts, both RCMP, the Mounties, as some people euphemistically call them, and CSIS, they're my intelligence service counterparts. We have great relationships with them, and terrorism is, I find, probably the number one thing we talk about.
Yeah, they're understaffed and overworked on the northern border, and they can use all the help you get. And with that, I yield back.